It's time to hit a super kick party to some wrestling news because it's time for the Turnbuckle. That's right, boys. We're back. We're starting off with our first bit of news. Actually, okay, so the first two bits of news are going to be about Eddie Kingston. So we're like, the first chunk of this is going to be Eddie Kingston related. So first off, Eddie Kingston has COVID and he won't make it to NJPW Strong tapings. Kingston revealed earlier today, and at the time of this recording, that is September 10th, so that was 2 days ago, that he has COVID. So he is still, he's still in it right now. Kingston revealed earlier today that he tested positive for COVID and will have to miss New Japan Pro Wrestling Strong tapings because of it. All right, on Twitter he said, so here we go. Got COVID, won't be able to make Strong this weekend. It fucking sucks going to test again to see if I can make TV this week. He was going to be teaming up with Homicide and Wheeler Yuta for a 6-man tag team match against Jay White and the Good... Wow, Jay White and the Good Brothers. Wow. Okay. So, well, of course, made sure to comment on the matter in a way you could expect him to. Okay, case of mission, hoping he can make TV this week. But AEW never announced any plans for him, either Dynamite or Rampage. That doesn't mean he wouldn't be working the shows, of course. Just that they have plenty of wiggle room should they need it, at least as far as avoiding any issues with previously announced segments. He was last seen beating Tomohiro Ishii, on the 0 Hour show prior to the All Out pay-per-view this past Saturday. That match wasn't bad, you know. There's a lot of hard-hitting. If you're into, the hard-hitting matches where all they're fucking doing is just not selling and just slapping the shit out of each other, and they go from being, fucking tan, and then they walk out of the ring and they're pink and, purple and black and fucking red, if that's what you're into, by all means. Yeah, it sucks that he has COVID. Obviously, we want him to get better. This is obviously going to take him out of a couple things. Listen... I don't really know. I want to be I'm sad that he has COVID because then it could mean that means that he's out of some storylines and stuff. Okay. On one hand, it's good because he's not in any storylines, so he's not really missing anything. But with that being said, on the other hand, he's missing wrestling and stuff like that. So he's missing tapings and everything. But it doesn't matter. All right, he's sick. Okay. I want him to rest. I want him to feel better. All right? Like my papa at the moment. He's under the weather. Okay? And I don't want him fucking cartwheeling on over the place and having his fucking big-ass head bumping into stuff. All right? So, the faster that he gets better, the better. Okay? So, all of us here in the Turnbuckle studio, all right? We're wishing Eddie Kingston a speedy recovery. Sticking with Eddie Kingston, we're going to talk about how he was in a bad mood ahead of the Sammy Guevara altercation. So, for those of you who don't know, I don't even know a whole lot about this, if I'm being 100% honest. All I know is, because it never aired, so that's kind of why I'm, kind of in the dark. So, I think it was, on Rampage or something. I think that Sammy and Kingston were going to do, a program together. And my man, right, Sammy was he was just talking shit. He was something, he's fat, right? So, Kingston apparently didn't like that. Right? Kingston did not really feel too happy about that. And an altercation did happen. I don't remember what, I think it was shoving. But I know one thing that happened was that Kingston pie-faced Sammy. And pie-face means he put his hand on his face and then he pushed it. He shoved him by the face out of the way. And I assume either that was before or after the altercation had occurred. So, appearing on Busted Open Radio, Kingston explained to Mark Henry why certain people can't poke fun at his physique without him getting heated. It doesn't bother me until people who didn't draw money say it, Kingston said. If you say it, maybe I'll go, maybe I need to rethink things. If Booker T said it, all right, maybe I got to hit the gym harder. But if it's someone who hasn't done anything or someone who's a holder on, then that bothers me. I don't know what a holder on is. I feel like I know what a holder on is, but I also don't know what a holder on is, so I don't know. Kingston went on to say that it would be like a third-string quarterback on an NFL team trying to talk down to the starter. When it comes to the Guevara situation, however, Kingston said the former TNT champion simply got caught in the crossfire. Okay, not respect it. I understand. I also know what he means about the third-string quarterback thing. I'm pretty sure that if Gardner Minshew went up to Jalen Hurts and was like, yo, you suck, you need to fucking do better, and my disease-riddled grandma could do better. You know what I mean? If Gardner Minshew went out to Jalen and was like, yo, well, what are you doing out there laying an egg? Jalen would be like, yo, what the fuck? Whose man's is this? You know? So, I understand where Kingston is coming from to a certain extent, you know? So Kingston went on to say, I woke up that day in a bad mood. Kingston admitted, I woke up, I rubbed the crust out of my eyes, I looked at my phone, and I went, oh no, not you. It had nothing to do with him. It could have been anybody that day, but since it was him, I was like, no, not you, which is fair. Okay, listen, okay, Samuel Guevara, you are a very talented wrestler. You're very good on the mic, and you've got a lot of charisma. Okay, and I cannot sit here and say that you are not one of the four pillars of AEW, because you are. Okay, and you're young, so you're going to be keeping the product going for a very long time. But man, I really wanted Darby Allin to fucking beat the shit out of you so that he could go on in the tournament, and I did not want you to win. I know you're not winning the tournament. That's a given. Okay, and I'm sorry to say that. Okay, but if I had to choose between fucking Jon Moxley and Sammy Guevara, sorry, boss man, but you're getting the boot, and I'm going to have to give it to my boy Jon Moxley, and I'm sure you would understand. Okay, so, at the end, okay, am I excusing Eddie? No. Is Eddie excusing Eddie? Absolutely not. Oh, we should really do that. We should really talk about this. I'm going to talk about this. Hold on. Sorry. We're suddenly new news. Okay, so, regarding the whole Eddie situation, well, listen, he's got COVID, right? So, I mean, he doesn't really have to fucking, sit in his room and, cool off or anything. He was a little bit upset. He didn't really like that the comments were specifically coming from my man, right? So, he got a little bit angry, and he took it out on him, which is not okay, all right? And he knows that. Did he really, did he apologize? I don't really think he apologized. I think he was just like, if you any of the codes, please go to Busted Open. I did, okay. Shouts out to Busted Open Radio. Okay, never mind. They didn't necessarily explain anybody in particular. Oh yeah, fair enough. Okay, my bad. Eddie Kingston didn't exactly wake up to sunshine and rainbows on the day he had a physical encounter with Sammy Guevara. It was reported that Kingston was none too pleased with a promo where Guevara poked fun at Kingston's weight. At the time, their feud was expected to lead to a match at the All Out pay-per-view. Yeah, so, like I said, they were supposed to go into a program, but, Eddie did not take too kindly to Sammy's comments. So instead, Kingston was quietly suspended after he approached Guevara and got physical with him. Kingston has since apologized. All right. And the two reportedly hashed things out backstage at the August 31st Dynamite taping. Boom. Done. Okay? I was sitting here looking to see if he actually had said sorry, and I was like, oh shit, I don't think he did. And then I was like, did he? Should he apologize? Because you did come at my man's weight. You know, that's not cool. If anything, I think Sammy should apologize. And they did. Okay, they both were like, hey, I'm sorry for doing that. Hey, sorry for talking about your weight. You know what I'm saying? And then they kissed, they made up, okay, and everything was great. So, hoping Eddie makes it back as soon as possible. And I'm also glad that he is not super duper upset with the whole situation regarding Sammy Guevara. And I don't know, shit, maybe Sammy will win. We genuinely have no idea, all right? We will have to wait and see. What the hell? That is not what okay. Okay, thank you very much. Get this out of here. That confused the shit out of me. All right, boys. Now we are going to be talking about a big update on Malachi Black's AEW status. Okay. It looks like Malachi Black may be done with All Elite Wrestling for the foreseeable future. According to Fightful Select, several talents within the promotion believe that Tony Khan has reluctantly accepted the House of Black's leader request to be let out of his contract. The report states that Khan wanted to keep the former WWE superstar as he believed that he could be a huge asset to the AEW brand for years to come. The pair even had meetings that were said to be positive in regard to Black sticking around, but it seems that circumstances changed and they came to an agreement to his release recently. Fightful also noted that Black's release is conditional and that the restrictions will prevent. Okay, yeah, so it's the same old contract stipulation of you can't compete in other companies for a certain amount of time. Right? Yeah. So, prevent him competing in one of the promotions, similar to WWE's 90-day non-compete clause. However, the specifics of the release agreement remain unclear at the time of this writing. When did this come out? September 7th. Okay, so it could change. It's subject to change. We're not sure. In the past, AEW has mainly released talent after the contracts expire for disciplinary reasons. So this case is quite unique for the promotion. That's true. That said, the company has released some stars who've asked to be let go, such as Kylie Ray. Of course, many fans and pundits have speculated about Black's future in recent days, with the signs suggesting that he was leaving AEW. Black teased his departure at All Out this past Sunday, bowing to the crowd after the House of Black was defeated by Darby Allin, Sting, and Miro. However, it's possible that Black will return to AEW We'll turn to AEW down the line, as AEW sources told Fightful that the door has been left open for him. Elsewhere, CM Punk could leave AEW following his backstage altercation. We already talked about that, all right? I don't want to talk about that anymore. Listen, all right? This is a mixed bag. I'm a mixed bag on this, okay? I do not feel like bad that Malakai's leaving, because I feel as though that Malachi is one in many of those wrestlers on that roster that I feel like, I don't know, I'm not saying that Malachi Black, right, needs to be prominently featured on TV every single week and has to be walking around with all the titles, but the one thing that bothers me is the fucking Julia Hart storyline. That storyline went on for months and months and months and months. My man sprayed Julia Hart in the eye with the mist, like fucking like not 4 months ago, but like the time that it took for Julia Hart to like turn and actually join House of Black was way too long. And then finally, when we actually got an angle that was like referencing everything that happened, she didn't do anything. There was no payoff to it. Because what happened? She like joined them. Oh, yeah. She broke up with, it's the Varsity Blondes. Where have they been? The Varsity Blondes. And then she was about to beat the shit out of the Varsity Blonde, and then she just couldn't do it. And it's like, if you're, man. I don't know. If you're going to, like, do that, if you're going to make a big thing, have some sort of payoff. And she didn't do anything. Eventually, she joined. But I feel as though that if the story had like carried on a little bit faster, maybe I would be speaking differently. But it's one of those things that I don't want to say like hindered the House of Black, but it put dampeners on them. You know what I mean? Is that a reason why Malachi left? Who's really to say, to be fairly honest? I mean, I'm sure there's a myriad of different reasons as to why Malachi Black decided that he wanted to leave the AEW, the All Elite Wrestling, you know. I'm not him. I am not him. Okay, so I'm not really sure. Well, I think it was like a number of things, right? So, again, I don't really think that it was. I don't think that it's a myriad of. I don't think that it's one specific thing. Is what I'm trying to say. Listen, I'm all for it. Okay, if he doesn't want to be here, then he should not have to be here. I don't think that we should be doing the whole WWE thing where he doesn't want to be here, but Tony Khan was like, yeah. Storyline is like, yeah, but he wasn't doing anything, you know? And it's the same thing that I keep saying with Miro. All Miro is doing is he's making promos about God and now I'm going to fuck my wife and all that stuff. Like, great, man, great. Talk to God. Go to church. Fuck your wife. I don't care. You're not doing anything. You're not chasing a title. You're not in a program with anybody. Nobody's called you out. You haven't called anybody out. Like, if you're just making empty promos, then every time I see a promo from you, I'm either going to not care what you're saying or I'm going to tune it out. The promo should be, I'm not saying every single promo has to have an exposition, a rising action, a climax, a falling action, and the resolution. I'm just saying that, like, if you're going to have, like, fucking promo after promo after promo after promo, fucking one of them has to be you going, hey, I'm coming for the title. And then he doesn't have to win, but, like, I don't know, man. I don't know. Because there's so many other wrestlers who are just like that, where they're not doing anything or they're not in programs, and then you got to do the thing where it's like, oh, there's a bunch of people, and then you got to do the thing where, what do we put them in a stable, and then the stable starts to stagnate, and then now you're making like more titles just for other people to hold on to them, just for people to not defend them. Who's gonna? Well, no, isn't it Orange Cassidy versus my man versus Pac? So I don't know, man. It's all over the place. That's why you can tell that my thoughts. That's why as you can tell, my thoughts are like not 100% lined up, because there's so many outside factors. There's so many things. Tony's not doing any storylines, man. He's not doing anything. House of Black isn't in a storyline. They're not in any programs. They're not chasing any titles. They're not talking about anything. The promos are just like, hey, we're scary. That's it. He's not doing anything. And then Malachi's like, oh, nothing's going on. I'm leaving. And then Tony's like, no, wait, don't leave. But man, nothing's happening. You're not doing anything. Malachi's been here for like, what, fucking 6, 8, 9, a million months? He's not gotten a single title shot. Has he got, I don't know, man. Has he gotten I don't think so. I don't think he's gotten a title shot. As far as I can tell. As far as I can remember. Maybe he has. And if he has, I don't remember it. Okay? That should really tell you everything that you need to know. Alright? The fact that he should be getting a title shot. He should be getting some type of something, man. And nothing's happening. You know? Is there going to be a new leader? Because now it's just Brody. No. It's... Oh, fuck. What's his name? Brody King. Right? That's his name. Brody King and Buddy Matthews are, you know, and Julia Hart. I mean, you can obviously still have the tag team, and, you know, you can still do, like, tag team matches and stuff like that. And, man, Triple H and Malachi, Triple H and Tony Khan, they sure love trios matches, okay? They are down for that, but Tony really needs to, like, I don't know, man, because that's a lot that you have to keep track of. You just keep running into things. All right, wrestlers need storylines. Well, there's too many of them. Okay, so then narrow it down. Okay, well, then you run into the problem that a bunch of other people are going to complain that this person doesn't have a storyline. So what do? Do you give the storyline to the main wrestlers? Or do you try and satiate as many people as you can by giving them, like, as many minor storylines? But then, they're all minor storylines. There's no reason to pay attention to them. But then, you've got people like Miro, Darby, Malachi, where it would make sense that they have something going on. Because otherwise, you know, they just sort of fade to the back. And you don't want that to happen. I personally don't want it to happen. Not to Malachi, not to Darby, not to Sting, not to Miro, not to Orange Cassidy. You know what I mean? Not to wrestlers who I feel like, how do I word this, man? I don't know how to word this. Because I don't want to make it seem like nobody else deserves to be in a storyline. I don't want to make it seem like Malachi deserves to be in a storyline, but Orange Cassidy doesn't. Orange Cassidy deserves to be in a storyline, but Miro doesn't. You see what I mean? Like, you can either put a prominent amount of people in some storylines, or you... I guess the only other option is to just put them in matches, I guess. I guess you could do that, but... I mean... Well, no, that's not true. Because a bunch of different wrestlers on Dark and Elevation and what have you, they wrestle. So I can't really sit here and be like, oh, you know, they're not given such and such this amount of time and all that sort of stuff. So maybe if I actually sat down and watched it, which I can, it's on YouTube, so I would be singing a different tune. So listen, when it comes to Malachi Black and his AEW status, good on him. Get the hell out of here. Whatever makes you happy, okay? If you want to come back to WWE, wow. If you want to come back to WWE, AEW, either way, okay? He left on good terms on both ends, so he's able to go wherever he wants to. Next, we're going to be talking about Booker T on how he would have handled the wild AEW All-Out Media Scrum. In the wake of CM Punk's explosive comments at the post all-out press scrum, many in the wrestling world are chiming in with their perspective on the situation. Booker T gave his perspective from two separate angles in an interview with Wrestling Inc. senior news editor Nick Hausman. Well, I think somebody got to be the adult in the room. In the room? Wow. I think in the CM Punk situation, he's dealing with a lot of young guys, he said, approaching the situation from Punk's perspective. Young guys who have pretty much wrote their own ticket, did it their way, and sometimes you got to go down to their level in order for them to come up to your level. You got to explain what your motive operandi is. Booker went on to speak on his time in TNA and his experience working with wrestlers such as Styles, Samoa Joe, Bobby Roode, and Jay Lethal. He spoke on making it a point to work with all of them and making sure it was him opening talks with them and not the other way around. Himself running the promotion Reality of Wrestling, Booker also had some input on how Tony Khan could have better handled the situation during and after the press conference. I feel like Tony Khan, he had to step up and do something, especially after that press conference, Booker said. Press conference perhaps should have been shut down. Someone should have maybe intervened and said, hey, we're going to stop all questions right now because you could see exactly where that thing was going. Booker spoke positively of Khan's decision to suspend all men involved after the fact, saying, I do think Tony Khan has done the right thing as far as saying, hey, I run this, and until we can actually sort this thing out, you go home, and then if we can figure it out, we'll figure it out, but right now, we've got a show to do. Yeah, that makes sense. A lot of people are speculating that because Tony Khan didn't say anything, it meant that he was perfectly fine with it. I don't know if I feel like I talked about this in the last episode. If I did talk about it, I apologize. So I'm not gonna touch on it too much. But if I didn't, if you watch CM Punk fucking explode, and if you look at Tony Khan, he doesn't say anything, so that can be misconstrued as Tony Khan being perfectly fine with everything that's coming out of CM Punk's mouth. But at the same time, Tony Khan's not saying anything, but just because he's not saying anything doesn't mean that he's not cool with everything that Punk is, like, talking about. So, don't ask me. Do not ask me about any of this, because I couldn't answer this question. Because I'm not Tony Khan. I'm not CM Punk. I'm not any of these people. I personally would not handle this. I would handle this situation completely differently. And there's way too many people and moving parts for me to really sit here and go, here's what I would do, here's how I would do it. Booker T has way more sway on this topic than I do, because I know, and I've never even seen a wrestling ring in real life, let alone fucking booked a match. The closest I've come is to playing the fucking WWE 2K19. That's the closest I've come to being a quote-unquote wrestling booker. So I can't sit here and say this is what he should have done, this is what he shouldn't have done. I have no idea. Did he handle the situation properly? Yeah. He suspended the right people. He stripped the right people of their titles, and he didn't really punish anybody else. He went on, he went on TV, he addressed the crowd, he told everybody what was going on, he didn't allude to what exactly happened, but he said, hey, a situation happened, and this is why we're doing this. So, I mean, you can't really get mad at him, but at the same time, I can understand why people are upset that he didn't say anything, that he just sort of let Punk go off. At any point, Booker's got a point. At any point, Booker's right. He could have immediately fucking snatched the microphone away from him and been like, hey, we're not talking about that right now. You need to talk about the match with you need to talk about MJF and AEW and all that. You need to talk about that. I don't want to sit here and listen to you talk about fucking Colt Cabana or Brian Alvarez. You know what I mean? I don't want to hear about that. He could have said that, but he didn't. And that kind of is, I don't care. I don't want to say that as a result of everything that happened. However, I think that if he did step in during the press conference and made it known that he did not want to be hearing about any of that sort of stuff, I feel as though that it probably would have diffused the situation in a way that we probably wouldn't even have known. Maybe if he had stepped in and said, hey, I don't want you talking about that. I don't want to hear anything about that. It probably would have like calmed Punk down a little bit. Maybe. I don't know. It could have... anything. It could have changed any outcome. I have no idea. So I can't sit here and say, oh, this would happen and that would. I have no idea. Even if I was in the fucking room, I would be like, I don't, what do you want me to do? I don't know. Like, so, I mean, listen, the point is, it's happened. They're suspended. If Punk, okay, so right now everybody is like, should Punk stay or should Punk go? If I'm Tony Khan, I want to talk to Punk. What is up with you, man? Let's talk. Are you okay? No, you're clearly not. First of all, you're clearly fucking bitter about Colt Cabana. I still don't know what the fuck is up with you with him. You're clearly bitter about what Hangman said about you and being a shithead. You're clearly fucking bitter about that. You need to get over it. You do. You need to like let that shit slide off your back. Because if you're about to sit here and get all bent out of shape and carry it over into like following weeks and carry it on, right? Then that doesn't bode well for like other like rivalries and feuds and programs and pay-per-views and stuff like that. Like if you are susceptible to coming in at the post-show media scrum and talking about stuff like that, what's stopping you from doing that again? Right? So now, right, as the booker, I have to think to myself, do I run the risk of that happening again, or do I completely cut all ties with that possibility and fire him? I personally don't want Punk to be fired because if he gets fired, that's him from wrestling gone forever. Forever. But if that's the case, good. I don't really think anybody would want him back, which would only make him more bitter, which would only make him go on to like certain sites and talk more shit. That's why I don't want him fired, because I know that it's just going to stir up a bunch of shit even more. So if anything, I would rather just suspend him, keep him there, keep him tethered to me, right? So that I can reel him back in and maybe sort of like sand him and cut, sand off all the edges and stuff. Because all that's going to happen from this, if he does get fired, is he's just going to go on a rampage, no pun intended. That's all he's going to do. He's going to go, Tony Khan's an idiot. The EVPs are idiots. All it's going to do is perpetuate. Is that the word? Is that the correct word I'm using? All it's going to do is further cement his bitterness and his resentment and his anger and his hatred and his overall just demeanor towards AEW. It's all he's going to do is go, yeah, they were doing this, and he's going to do that too. He's going to go on fucking news sites and all that sort of stuff, and they did this and they talked about that and blah blah blah. I don't want that. I don't want anybody to do that. And the last fucking person I want to be doing that is CM Punk's stupid ass. So if I can, me personally, if I can avoid that, I'm going to keep him on AEW. And then once he's like back from injury, I'm going to reel him back in. I'm going to pull the rope back in. I'm going to see what's inside of the little crab basket. I'm going to be like, are you good? Are you done? Is this shit over? Have you calmed down? And he's going to be like, no. And I'm going to be like, oh, so you haven't calmed down. And I'm going to throw him back in the fucking ocean. I'm not going to fire him, but I'm going to throw him back in the fucking ocean. Because I know what's going to, I feel like I know what's going to happen. I feel like I know what's going to happen. But I can't say. But I've got a pretty good idea that Punk is, he's, listen, okay, you know what? That's not fair. That's not fair to Punk. To sit here and say, hey, Punk is... To sit here and say that Punk is going to go out and do something like that is rude, because I am assuming that Punk is going to be a see you next Tuesday about this, right? And that's not really fair to Punk as a person, because I'm just speculating and I don't actually know. But between you and me, I would not put it past him. I wouldn't put it past Phil to go on to media outlets and to bash everybody in AEW and AEW as a whole. I wouldn't put it past him, because he's angry and he's bitter and he's fucking annoyed. So he's going to go out and he's going to fucking knock stuff over and spill things and spoil the endings of movies and all that, because he's angry. He's mad. So he wants everybody else to be, I'm mad, everybody. Be mad with me. Yeah, be angry. I'm angry, so you should be angry. That's why I don't want him to get fired. But again, I'm not Tony. I don't know, so we'll have to wait and see. Okay, speaking of Punk, the Young Bucks reportedly haven't sent feelers to WWE. So it came out recently that apparently the Young Bucks were apparently sending feelers out to WWE. This is dumb. Hold on. While there have been some stories making the rounds that the Young Bucks, Matt and Nick Jackson, have put out feelers to WWE in the wake of their backstage brawl with CM Punk and Ace Steel following All Out just last weekend, both Brian Alvarez and Dave Meltzer reported on Wrestling Observer Radio that this isn't the case, and it didn't come from the latter, as has been stated. Okay, so Brian was like, I think the only thing to really say about it is the story allegedly came from Dave, but Dave didn't report it. And Dave was like, me? And Brian was like, yeah. And Dave was like, I've never said that to anyone. And then Brian was like, yes. Suffice to say, I wouldn't read too much into the story of the Young Bucks allegedly asking for their or sending out feelers to WWE. And then Meltzer was like, I mean, they're under contract until the end of 2023. At that point, whatever. Everyone should send out feelers at the end of their deal and go back and forth and see what the offers are. But it's not. Okay, so one thing you gotta know about Dave, he's like me, okay? His as you can plainly see, his sentences, they like overlap with each other. And, he will start a sentence and then, anyway. But it's not. We're a long ways away from that thing. Now, of course, there is a situation here, and if it goes the wrong way and they're let go or something like that, they were taken out of the open. I don't know how this thing's going to turn out. So, that whole thing, they're under contract at the end of 2023. We have to wait until a lot of things play out. I don't know how things are going to play out, so leave it at that. But yes, no, I did not report that at all. I love Dave Meltzer so much. He talks just like me, man. There's just so much going on in his head. The Young Bucks are still EVPs with AEW, at least as far as we know. That's a good point. Like Meltzer said, there is still a great deal of fallout to work through related to the post-media scrum brawl. For now, the Jackson brothers aren't on the move. For now, if at all. So they're not sending feelers out. At first, I thought they were, and I was a little bit upset because I thought that they were being petty, and they were like, well, fine. If we're suspended, then we're just going to go over to WWE. How do you feel about that? And it's like, if you're going to do that, well, then what the fuck, man? Get out. God. That's so stupid. Hey, you did something that we personally do not like, so how's about we go ahead and do something that you personally don't like? How about that? And it's like, fuck, what? Stop. But apparently they didn't do it. They didn't send feelers out. To be fair, though, Meltzer, like you said, he doesn't know. The contract ends in 2023. So, I mean, 2023 could end, and they could send feelers out. So, we really don't know, right? Like you said, the fallout is still happening. So far, we've not gotten any reports, any updates on everything that was going on, right? So, there's not really much I can say. I can't really be like, oh, such and such this and such that, because the news is still ongoing. An article could come out right now as I'm speaking about, the whole situation. I really have no idea. So, we will have to wait and see what comes out and what exactly it is that has come out and who it's about and all that sort of stuff. So I think we really have to, that's all we can do. We literally cannot do anything else because we can speculate all we want. We can speculate all we want until the confirmed news comes out. Because as you can see, I thought the Bucks reportedly sent feelers and they didn't. They said Dave said it. And Dave was like, I did not say that to anybody. So, egg on my face. Okay. That's why I can't sit here and say, oh, this will happen or that happen. All right. We got to wait and we got to see. Okay. Next, we're going to talk about Jericho and his comments on whether he wants an AEW EVP role. What am I doing? On Inside the Ropes, Jericho discussed if he would like an EVP role within AEW. I don't need a title job to help the company, 6-time champion Jericho said. 6-time WWE. Yeah. He's only won 6 championships in his entire career. 6-time WWE World Champion Jericho said, whenever I show up to TV, it's consistent. Whenever I show up to TV, it's constant, constant working from 2 until the show is over, whether I'm wrestling or not. And that's the way it should be. I don't have a problem with giving advice and helping people. It's what I'm there for. It's part of my job. I don't need, like I said, it doesn't have to be written on a business or, directly EVP, whatever the fuck it is. Who cares? I'm Chris Jericho. When AEW began, the company had 4 EVPs. However, this past January, Cody Rhodes wrestled his last match with the company and left for WWE. Leaving AEW, he is not affiliated with AEW anymore whatsoever in any capacity, whether that be backstage or on screen. So, 4 EVPs. Okay, so it's literally just Kenny and the Young Bucks, and that's pretty much it. I understand where Jericho's coming from. I don't necessarily need to be an EVP for me to come in and put my 2 cents and produce certain things, which is fair. I think that could go with a lot of wrestlers on that roster right now. I think a lot of wrestlers, they can come in and they can be like, hey, I think that this is how it should be. And I feel like AEW is one of those companies where I feel like feedback like that is more welcome than you think it is. You know what I mean? I would argue that the last thing that AEW would do is be like, no, we're not taking any opinions from you. You're not an EVP, so we're not going to be listening to you. You know what I mean? I mean, if you are like a Nick Camarado or I don't know, like a Dante Martin, it's like, I love you, but you don't know enough about the business as a whole to really come in and make any comments. If you're like a Chris Jericho, who else? I would say if you're like a Hangman Page, really, right? A Paul White, a Mark Henry, a Taz, a Tony Schiavone, if you're one of those, if you're a veteran, for lack of a better term, if you're a veteran, if you've been around the block a couple times, I would argue that AEW would be more inclined to be taking opinions from that conglomerate than they would the conglomerate of like Hobbs and Starks. People who obviously are like credible people, but people who for fucking obviously haven't run a company. You know what I mean? Like, Ronald McDonald's not going to come up to me and go, hey, what burger should I release? I don't know, man. Also, how'd you get in my house? And man, your shoes are huge. You know, like, I can't really sit here and say like, hey, you should bring the McRib back, except this time make it another McRib stacked on top of it. Who knows? Maybe that'll sell. Anyway. But yeah, I completely understand where Jericho's coming from in the sense of like, you don't really need an AVP role to be an EVP. You know what I mean? As long as you've got like a decent amount of experience and what have you, then I think that should not so much like put you at the top, but slot you in and be like, all right, we're not going to immediately go with everything that you say, but I'm going to consider a lot of your options because I would argue that you are one of the very few people in this roster who knows what they're talking about. Okay? In terms of veterans, okay? Not to say that everybody on this fucking dunce cap, except for Punk, okay? Lastly, boys and girls, we're going to be talking about Becky Lynch on what Ronda Rousey... We're going to be talking about Becky Lynch and her comments on Ronda Rousey and what she needs to do to get another WrestleMania match. Becky Lynch is making it crystal clear that the man is back. Hold on, I have to... Speaking to Ryan Satin on the Out of Character podcast, Lynch responded to the speculation. Oh, hold on. Now Lynch returned to the most popular persona. Many believe she will finally get a one-on-one match with Ronda Rousey at WrestleMania 39. Lynch responded to the speculation. Maybe if she starts training a little bit more, Lynch said. Maybe she gets a little better. Lynch went on to say that she enjoys being a babyface again despite not being able to soak it in due to her shoulder injury. She detailed a meeting with Paul Triple H Levesque, WWE's chief content officer, who expressed his belief that Lynch should be back in a babyface role. Lynch was all for it and said she's happy that Levesque has taken over the reins of creative. For Lynch, it is now a matter of her recovery process. For now, she seems confident that she will be able to wrestle on WWE's biggest show of 2023. Okay, so there's a chance that she's more than likely going to be able to come back. She says that Rousey needs to train more. I agree. I think that it takes more than knowing how to be a UFC fighter to know how to wrestle in the ring. I don't really think... I'm not saying that Ronda is an absolute dog shit wrestler, but I'm saying that there's a couple nuances that Ronda should learn before... Is Ronda green? No. Is she like a teal? Is she like a tealish? Is she getting like a tealish hue to her? Yes. I think that she's not bad on the mic. She needs to learn a little bit more on the mic. I think that, again, there's a couple of things. Crowd work is one thing that I feel like she would be really good at, right? Selling, I don't know. This I'm just going off the top of my head. I feel like I have no like single goddamn clue what I'm talking about. But I understand where she's coming from in the sense like there's, just thinking just right off the top of my dome, right? I feel like I'm not saying wrestling wise there's a lot she needs to learn, but there's a lot that she needs to learn outside of the ring that she can incorporate inside of the ring, like how to work the crowd, how to sell certain moves and that sort of stuff. You know what I mean? Like certain things to sort of like get the message, get the picture that she understands, like how to work a match. You know what I mean? Like how to address like the crowd and that sort of stuff. So, I mean, there's not really much else to say because at the end of the day, it's not so much her wrestling that is the problem. But then again, I mean, okay, her wrestling is the problem because it's not even Ronda Rousey that can go to like the performance center and like, relearn how to do an arm drag. Anybody can do that. I'm not saying Ronda specifically has to do that, but I'm saying that I feel like it would help it would solidify Ronda's character a little bit more. Ronda's character would be a little bit more set in stone if she was just a little bit more like, polished. She's not awful. Just polish her a little bit and everything should be fine. As for Becky Lynch, same thing with Eddie. I hope she makes a speedy recovery, boys. And on that note, okay, what did we talk about? Kingston's got COVID. I hope he makes a speedy recovery. Kingston recalls being in a bad mood ahead of the Sammy Guevara altercation, but they kissed and they made up, so I'm happy about that. Malachi Black is leaving AEW. Listen, he wasn't doing anything, and Tony Khan shouldn't be upset that he's leaving if Tony Khan is not putting him in any storylines. Booker T talks about how he would have handled it, which is fair. I mean, there's not really much I can say because I'm not Tony, I'm not Booker. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, I personally don't know how I would have handled it, but how it's being handled right now is perfectly fine. Okay, so The Young Bucks are reportedly not sending feelers out to WWE. I thought they were, and I'm glad they're not, but that doesn't mean that they're not going to do it at all. Jericho comments on whether he wants an EVP role. He doesn't need it, which is fair. The veterans don't necessarily need one. They can just go around and be like, hey, you should be doing this and you should be doing that. And if you're Dante Martin, okay, or what's his name? Lee Moriarty. You know what I'm saying? Like, I would take their advice. If Mark Henry came up to me and was like, hey, you should be doing this, I would take his advice. It's the same thing Eddie said. If Mark Henry said it, okay, fine. If Booker T said it, all right, fine. But it came from Sammy Guevara, like, bro, fuck you, you know? And Becky Lynch was like, hey, Ronda needs a little bit more polish in the ring. She didn't say, right, maybe she starts training a little bit more. She didn't say she was absolutely terrible. She didn't say that she's fucking dangerous in the ring. She said if she starts training just a little bit more, she gets a little bit better, then sure. And I agree, okay? She doesn't need to be fucking doing backflips, shooting fireworks out of her fucking coochie, all right? All she needs to be doing is learning a couple things, like how to work the crowd and selling all that sort of stuff, all right? Boys, that's going to do it for this episode of the Turnbuckle. I want to give a shout out to everybody that stopped by, okay? Hopefully everybody has a wonderful tonight and a wonderful tomorrow. And as always, big hugs. Big hugs all around.